Yeah, the view up here is great, and from here I can see Nazaré, which is further north, but it's hazy. You won't be able to see it with this camera. You need a couple filters and a long lens to get a good view of it. But I'll stop over here and let you look in that direction, see what we can see. I love these wind indicators, whatever they're there for. They're cool. That's Nazaré down there. This place reminds me of Discovery Bay in Hong Kong. This one little zona. You had to kind of be there. Trust me. So anyway, yeah, we can have an efficient government, maybe in 100 years or 200 years. A bit too late. Once we all figure out how to use the interwebs responsibly, once we're learned up enough to figure out how to think clearly and make sense of things in your dreams. Yeah, so the Afghanistan thing, you can go and read up on it, man. There are lots of books, lots of experts, lots of university lecturers, lots of journalists and so on. And that's the same thing in every domain or interest that you may have. When I posted about Brett Weinstein, you're going to get hits just because he's a famous YouTube guy and an intellectual influencer and so on. And his claim to fame comes from a bad break he got at Evergreen University. And people jumped on it because at the time the intellectual dark web was really up in arms about identity politics and wokeness and all that stuff, and postmodernism, and so it was a topic in a niche group of white, industrialized, educated, rich, democratic countries, mostly the United States, in the coastal cities. I mean, few people in Dallas or, Oklahoma gave a shit probably about what Sam Harris was talking about. Anyway, he became well known. He got a nice little YouTube business going that he and his wife Heather are dependent on. You have to understand that they're dependent on that. That's their business. So if you find a controversial topic that resonates with you and you believe in, you're going to focus on that, and you're going to find a niche audience, and they're going to support you to the hilt. And, and all this YouTube stuff feeds off of each other, like David put on the Rebel Wisdom podcast or video, platform. You should watch that. But anyway, I just want to suggest to the fans of Brett that Brett's not the only biologist teaching in the world, in the whole world, man. He's not the only smart guy in the world. He's not the, Heather's not the only author in the world. I mean, come on. And, he's not the only heterodox thinker. He's not the only guy who thinks he has an imagination. There are lots and lots of people that are great, and you can find them. And sometimes the information, like, I know you're not going to do the research. Nobody does the research because you're not a researcher. Research is boring. Uh-oh, somebody fell off the cliff, I think. GNR and a Bombardier car just went by. So what I was saying, it's like, it's dangerous walking around these cliffs and standing under these cliffs. It happens all the time. I hope that's not the case. How sad. If a chopper comes by, I'll be sad. Anyway, what I'm trying to suggest to the people who love Brett is that, yeah, I love Brett, he's fine, but, read around the subject a bit. Get a few books on the subject. Listen to a few epidemiologists, virologists, scientists, whatever, historians, whatever the domain is or the thing that you're looking at. And Daniel Schmachtenberger says it very eloquently and puts it all together with the Consilience Project, and I wish everybody would look into that, but nobody cares. Yeah, it's boring. Oh well. You're not going to do the research because it's boring and it's hard, but you might be able to learn how to read an abstract of a science paper, or you might be able to learn what the p-value is in these kind of statistics. You might be able to learn how to read a science paper. Dr. Peter Attia made a nice series helping people understand how to read a science paper and what to look for. And there's lots of things like that. Like I've said before many times, MOOCs, massive open online courses, and Khan Academy. I mean, if you want to spend the time, but people don't want to spend the time learning something. They want some intellectual that they resonate with to tell them what to think, to give them the answers, right? Clef notes. Please, Pastor, just tell me how we got here. Well, God created the universe and the earth and everything on it and blah, blah, blah. And then on the seventh day he rested. Oh, okay, cool, fine, done and dusted. That may be a straw man, a little bit unfair, but you know, they want the answers. Just tell me ivermectin works. And that if only the government and the mainstream and all the bad people in the universe had let us have it, there wouldn't have been a problem, you know. Well, it's much more nuanced than that, much more complex. And a lot of people have, there's tons of information on it. It's not like it's not like you can't find the data or the papers or people to explain things to you. It's all there, but you have to look for it and trust that there are other experts, other people, other opinion makers and so on out there that can help you round out your understanding of a subject. You know, I sent tons of tweets to Brett Weinstein, who doesn't give a fuck about me. I'm nobody, and I get that, and it makes me embarrassed. It's kind of untoward that I'm even talking about any of this stuff. Because, you know, I'm nothing but a retired guy in Portugal. But I sent tweets to Brett and commented on his videos. People comment on my video and say, have you ever watched anything? Yes, of course. I've been aware of him and watched and read around him since the Evergreen thing, at least 10 years. And some things I find very interesting and compelling, and some things I think are kind of ridiculous. You know, I'm not all in on anybody. I'm not a super fan. I'm just not. If the Broncos lose and the 49ers win, or if the Dallas Cowboys win, it's going to be all right with me. But I'm in Europe, so I should say Manchester United, or, you know, whatever. So, I don't know what I'm doing now. I'm just kind of aimlessly riding around. So I'm not, you know, somebody comes on and says, you're 100% wrong about everything and Brett's 100% right. Okay, fine. If that's what you believe, I don't have a problem with it. Why should I care that much? My only suggestion is, and it's just a suggestion, that you can find a lot more information about it that might help round out your understanding of the issue if you wanted to. And if you don't understand statistics and you don't understand the various, you know, fields of science that relate to this issue, it's not hard to find people to talk to who do know what they're doing. And just because there's a few kind of mal-incentivized heterodox doctors doesn't mean that that's everything. And you may hate consensus because you don't trust anything anymore because the internet's confused you so much, all the different people with all their different opinions. But consensus still matters, especially in science. I don't know if there's a consensus on Kantian philosophy. Of course there isn't. Or how to interpret the Bible or the Quran. Of course there isn't. Counterfactual histories of this and that. You know, what happened in World War II? Did the Russians win it or did the Americans win it? The Allies? I don't know. There's lots of opinions, right? People have different ideas about it. And you have some historians who are famous, you know. That's another thing. You know, we listen to famous people's music because it's been marketed to us. We read famous people's books because they've been marketed to us. They're bestsellers. We have to read them. But can you imagine that there are hundreds of books out there that haven't been marketed to you, that you haven't seen and can't find, that are also really, really good? Or that in the 17th century there was a philosopher that no one knows about who was probably incredibly brilliant, you know, a showstopper. Or that there weren't a million Christian sects in the first century